Good evening, everyone. Shane Jenkins here with Chestnut Checkers. This is, I believe, episode 6. It's been a busy last couple of weeks in my life, so got to go to the White House. I'll show you some highlight reel videos of some stuff. I got to tour college with my daughter, and she graduated last week, so that was a really big highlight for me and something to celebrate as a father and to just be free to be able to do that. Again, thank you, President Trump, for thinking outside the box and pardoning all of the January 6th political prisoners. But we also got to tour Yellowstone Park. That was pretty special. So it's been an action-packed couple of weeks. Sorry we didn't have an episode come out last week, but there was just too much going on, and I didn't have time to get one prepared. But I think we're going to make up for it this week. We have another in-studio guest, a Jan 6 member who is a very close friend of mine. His name is Peter Stager. I've known Peter. I mean, I guess it's been almost 4 years now, but we bonded a lot. He's a really good guy. He's a good man. I want to share with you guys what he's been through on his journey, because it has been difficult for a lot of us, and we're all trying to put our lives back together. I'm 47 years old, trying to put my life back together again. And so many of the men and women of January 6th are struggling to do that. And so we're going to kind of dive into that here in just a second. But I'm going to let my producer, Maurice, play this highlight reel of my last couple of weeks. Here from the historical town of Booty, Montana.
It's Butte.
Well, that's what I said, Booty. I was thinking, we just got pardoned about 120 days ago, and this is the first time I've been in Booty since I was in prison. Thank you all. God bless you all. Have a good evening. So there you have it, folks. You got to see some of the wildlife we saw at Yellowstone, and just some of the. Oh, I forgot to mention the J6 Road Home project. We got to see Jenny Cudd and her husband Doug, and I got to reconnect with a lot of the men. It was something to behold, to see all those men that I had done all that time with in person again. It was just something that. It was a healing moment, I believe, in my heart. It was difficult. It upset me all over again to think about what they've done to all of us, and how they've treated us, and kind of how, just what we're all dealing with. It has been, I can never stress enough the challenge that it is mentally and emotionally and financially to try to put our lives back together. Peter told me earlier, he said, man, I'd rather be in solitary confinement than have to deal with what he's been dealing with out here on the outside. So without further ado, I want to bring in my brother, Peter Stager, also known by Little Peter, by his family members. So how's it going, Peter? Thanks for coming in.
It's going wonderful. Thanks for having me. It's good to see you again. Also,
absolutely. Good to see you, man. I see you're wearing, is that a soccer jersey you got on? What's going on with that? I didn't know.
Well, with solidarity for Palestinians, and okay. The clout and the suffering and anguish that they go through in day to day, just to, be able to breathe and hopefully eat. We need to lift up in prayer and try to end the support of the tax money that we have in this country that's funding so much death and carnage, so much senseless violence. So, I try to, keep people aware and keep them in my heart. So,
no, I find that I do that a lot. I wear a lot of my T-shirts are statement T-shirts, whether it's the fight Trump shirt or whatever it is. I voted for big balls, whatever shirt I am wearing at the time. But it seems like, and this is something that I haven't really dove too deep into, but you had kind of warned me several years ago about not the Jewish people. We love the Jewish people. They don't have anything but the Zionist state. You know, um, this entity that has been responsible. If you look, they're talking about like the RFK, JFK assassinations and all these things back to Mossad and all that kind of stuff. And so it's a very interesting take, and to think like we're in another phase of that whole thing that we've all kind of been. It's kind of been slowly been revealed to me, and I don't. It's kind of sensitive topic to talk about, especially on X. But it is very, very concerning, because you always wonder like who's moving the chess pieces, why they're being moved, you know, what's being sacrificed on the board. This is chess, not checkers, so I like to think of things in an analogy of chess, but I don't like to be played for a fool, and I don't like puppet strings being pulled without me really knowing what our taxpayer dollars is going to, you know. So what do you think is happening with all that? Is this a manufactured aggression in Israel, that they're upset with Palestine? How did all that go down? How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, I think it's been obvious. It's been kind of the goal from the beginning. There used to be a time where there was coexisting in that region of the world, specifically modern day Israel now, but Palestine really. And it was, life was a lot safer for both of them. They considered each other brothers. There's always a fringe element that there's violence and stuff, but nothing to the carnage that's being basically handed down to the Palestinian peoples for the act of a group of terrorists and just absolutely deplorable, despisable, evil creatures that hide, under the banners of Hamas and stuff like that.
So do you hold Hamas accountable for the things that happened? I guess it was October 7th.
Yeah, there's a lot more to that story than what the public has been fed. And, always remember something. The media always lies. They don't ever tell you the truth. It's very slanted. The talking points they give you, it's not accurate. They'll do exactly what Big Brother tells them to do. There's always an agenda, and it's always division. Do your own research and look at the suffering, and you'll come to conclusions that are completely opposite of the narrative. But the manufactured land push that's being it's basically amounts to simply that. It's a genocide. Call it what it is. The human suffering is horrible. Tax dollars from the United States is funding all of it. Our lack of leadership basically out of Washington, and the creatures that call themselves our leaders have a globalist agenda, and they put interest of a globalist regime that I like to identify as Zionist, and they'll tell you if they're Zionist or not. And I love the Jewish people, and they're being traumatized and they're like us, actually. If you look at the majority of the population, they're like we, the people here. They're told one thing about what their leaders are going to do for them, but the reality to it is it's lip service. Mm-hmm. It's shut up, get in line. We're going to do, we know what's best for us. We meant you. We know what's best for you. Right. And they do whatever they want at your expense, but mainly the U.S. taxpayers' expense. And then Washington, of course, again, the Democrats, the Republicans, and they're both guilty of it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They lie to our faces, and they do whatever they want, and we get to foot the bill for it. Yeah. And nothing ever meaningful happens, but they don't have a problem with carnage, death, destruction, and collateral damage, as they call it. It's senseless.
You bring to mind Lindsey Graham over there cheerleading for more money to Ukraine, and I'm just like, what is, like, I know you're like a military industrial complex stooge, but like, what are you trying to drag us into World War III? Like, what is going on? Like,
it's almost, for me, I look at his career. And I remember anytime John McCain, when he was alive, he bomb Iran, this and that. There's never enough carnage for these guys. It's almost like that they're getting paid off of the amount of death that the world basically suffers under.
Well, it's
and there's not enough
of the expenditure of munitions. They're getting kickbacks from their lobbyists, from the from all the Raytheon and whoever it is, Northrop Grumman or Sikorsky or General Dynamics or whoever it is. They're getting paid for every missile, every bullet, every helicopter, every tank they sell. And so they're getting kickbacks off of that. So it motivates them to sell war, which is going to always ends up dragging the American, blood and treasure onto the battlefield and costing us, generations of people with PTSD and IED explosions and whatever it is, wounded, physically and emotionally, mentally wounded people that we have to take care of. And it should be avoided. Let's get to let's kind of get to January 6th. So I think that's kind of been my purpose for this show, is just to kind of get the story of, like, because a lot of people don't know all of us, and it's just kind of an opportunity, I think, for somebody who was in there with you, who did time with you in there, who broke bread with you, Bible study, whatever it was, basketball, whatever we were doing in there at the time. We were in there together. So if you want to just kind of give me, like, because you were like, I kind of got politically active when COVID hit, but kind of tell us, like, have you always, I guess you used to be a Bernie bro, and then you told me some interesting stuff about the Pentagon from 9/11 and all that. We always were kind of down that little, what people would call the conspiracy rabbit hole. But I mean, most of the things that we've looked at have come to be true.
Yeah, there was always a lot of independent journalists. I never really liked mainstream media, and there's just so many of them. And at the information age, where the internet really was booming and stuff, you just had a free flow of information, and it just couldn't be capped or bottled. And you just take in as much of it as possible, and then you look at the reputation that these individuals have, and a lot of the names aren't recognized or known. But you take all that information, and then when you see enough of them, and you know that these people are credible, they're not just pulling it out of their hat. They're not just pulling it out of thin air and making it up. They have the receipts, and that's what they were showing us. And the stories that I was piecing together off of all that information was way different than what the legacy mainstream propaganda.
For instance, what stories are you talking about specifically?
I would the Branch Davidians.
Okay.
That whole
So
incident.
like Waco.
Waco and Ruby Ridge, the Oklahoma City bombing, the fall of the towers, the attack on the Pentagon, us funding, terrorist operations overseas, the Mujahideen that, spun off and caused, groups like the Muslim Brotherhood and later on Al Qaeda, Al Shabaab, ISIL, ISIS. I mean, whatever group you want to call it now, you could even see clips where even Hillary Clinton acknowledges that this is the case. And it's not just her. John McCain would acknowledge it. A lot of these, it didn't matter what party it was.
Well, so you've seen behind the curtain really for years that they've been lying to us and feeding us a sack of crap, which is
about 2001.
Well, as a media consumer, it's very difficult to filter through, even not so much today, because I will listen and pay attention, right? Like I try to, okay, who is it that's saying it first and foremost? Is this CNN, or is this MSNBC, or is this like Real America's Voice, or who is this saying it? Do they have an agenda? And then just kind of analyze, take a broad overview of whatever the specific situation is. It's difficult to, because I think a lot of people don't have the time to sit down and digest a lot of media. So it's a challenge, because they want to see the 15-second clip, the reel, or the whatever it is, the little 15-second ad on Instagram or Facebook or whatever it is, and then they're on down the road, and all they heard was something taken completely out of context, whatever it was, Russia, or the border, or whatever it is, and then that's just what they run with. And some people are willingly blind, I believe, but I think other people, I think that's been one of the greatest things to come out of this Biden presidency, was that people are like pulling their heads out of their butts and trying to find a reliable media source if they want that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's really because it affected them. So we finally quit being self-centered. And because it affected us specifically, we started to pay attention and then realize, oh God, look at the suffering around me. Yeah. And people got angry. And it's specifically when they started targeting like our children. But the way that I discern it was real simple. Okay. So when you look at the mainstream media and you listen to these people tell you things, look at the way that they give you an opinion. They don't give you facts, and they don't give you the data or information.
Just their opinion. It's
an opinion.
Right.
That's not journalism.
Right. No.
So when you look at these independent journalists that you find all over online, they run podcasts, there's so many of them now. A lot of them are not even really known, but the way that they write and they speak is not opinion. It's data. And it's for you to come up with whatever conclusion you want with it, and nothing more. It's journalism at its finest, what it's supposed to be.
Right.
And that's why they aren't invited.
Lay it out for you. Here it is. Love it or hate it.
This is the facts. My opinion has nothing to do with this.
Your political views have nothing to do with it.
I don't care what you do with this information, all I'm doing is conveying it, and you do with it what you want, but this is what it is. And that right there, you can work with that. You take enough of that, and then you look at the sourcing. Like they always tell you what their sourcing is. They give you the receipts.
Footnotes.
There's the footnotes, which politicians, what agency they got it from, this and that. You can actually go and then you can check. You can find the financing, the funding, follow the money. You don't get any of that with the legacy mainstream propagandist news sources anymore on television or on the radio.
Well, probably not since Operation Mockingbird.
Well, it's been a long time, but the sad part again is they've done it so slowly, and it's just become so normalized. And then if you don't give it to us very quickly, because the way that we've been trained to have such a short attention span, that's been a real big problem. But that's kind of how I discern it too. And it really is nothing that the media says to you is truthful, except for maybe the name of the individuals, the place it happens, and that your tax dollars paid for it. That may be the only truth that they ever are accurate consistently with. Everything else is absolute garbage. It's opinion, and they're just mouthpieces that usually worked for either side of the party. And the reality is when the cameras roll off, or the end of the day, they go to the same bars, they go to the same cocktail parties, they go to family events, they share inside trading so they can do stock things and literally become very wealthy and rich, and pass
off our backs.
They pass little bitty addendums or pork stuffed in bills, and it exempts them from the Constitution and also from laws and statutes, and the people around them. But yet, me and you do what they do. And we go to prison
for years,
for all kinds of, statute breaking and violations of law. And it's two different, we're treated two different ways.
Well, so this investigatory journalism is kind of what led you to January 6th, right? That's kind of what was your reasoning for going to January 6th? Like, what is that? Obviously, you felt like something was off about the election, or
the COVID nonsense was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. We'd gotten very comfortable in our household and family financially and stuff, and I was a traveling carpenter, and the company I'd worked for had shut down. And it was because
and you're married with children.
I was married, absolutely married to my what would be considered a high school sweetheart, like a 25-year relationship, married 20 years, and all of a sudden they lay everybody off because of this nonsense lab leaked virus that was a biological weapon that we funded and that many agencies in our government funded and created, that somehow got out of all places in China. And then they lied to us and gaslit us, and then had us go through all this ridiculous nonsense. 6 foot, it's airborne, it's the most contagious thing ever.
Well, it's patented, and they had the patent for the tests that they were going to use already, years before.
The data's all there. They knew what they were doing. They played like they were God. They did things, and they deliberately created a weapon, and it somehow, I'm not saying deliberately, but it got out. And then they tried to cover it up because they didn't want people knowing ultimately that we were responsible for at least having something to do with it. We knew a lot more than we did. And then they started giving people, to take a vaccine, as they call it, that was untested, and then exempted them. But yet it was so profitable, and then they force fed it. You have to get this, or else you're going to lose your job. You can't go into public. You will shut everything down, or will destroy literally the free world, the economies and everything. But yet, if you're a stripper, you sell alcohol, or you do this, you can be open, but you can't go to church.
Close the church
don't
down.
You pray to God in a group? Oh, no, don't see your grandma or your grandfather and tell them goodbye because they're dying. You can't do that. But let me take all these old people with the most vulnerable immune systems and lock them in an area and just many of them die, and without ever having compassion and love or anyone around them. It was sad.
Governor Cuomo
to believe, and it wasn't just him. He was a major offender because it's the biggest city, but I couldn't believe that the American spirit allowed that to happen. I was utterly shocked. You can't go into a store without a mask. I mean, it was so beyond anything that I could comprehend, because it defied basic science that you learn when you're in junior high school and high school. And if you questioned it, you were blacklisted, you were alienated, and they went after you. And that's another thing too. When they all of a sudden you see left and right and all media organizations start agreeing something's not right. They don't agree about anything, but all of a sudden you have to do this. Right. So it's like, yeah, something's not right about this. Yeah. And why can't I question it? Can you question science? But when you have internationally recognized and then literally the top of the food chain doctors and stuff that are going against what this war criminal Dr. Fauci is saying, and they're like, no, the science says this. You haven't been doing science the 30, 40 years you've been in office. You've just been pushing a pen and been responsible for some real evil deeds throughout the world and covering it up, you know. But we do this every day and we disagree with that. Then they're blacklisted. Oh, no, we can't have that said on the air. And then everybody pounces on them and they strip them of their licensing. It got so over the top that you couldn't question science that I was like, something's not right. So long story short is that was it for me. And then the censorship, that was a cherry. So here I am now. I can't support my household. I'm a master trim carpenter. I travel to the United States. I have no work. There's no sign of when this nightmare that the free world is living is going to end. And everything I'd worked so hard for, I'm watching it disappear, and I'm watching my neighbors suffer. Everybody I know is frightened because they're told, if you go outside, you're going to die. If you mingle with anyone and you're closer than 6 foot, you're going to die. You're going to kill them. And it's just like, I'm living in a nightmare. And then ultimately, I got lucky enough that I had a CDL when I used to work in an oil field. I got contacted from a gentleman I knew and I used to work for in traveling to the United States as a carpenter. And he said, hey, you had a CDL last time we had talked. Would you like a job? I was thankful. So I started driving a big rig, hauling chicken and picking produce up throughout the South. And basically I made my way to DC. I wasn't a real big supporter of Donald Trump. I consider myself an independent, a libertarian, Green Party. I actually voted for Jill Stein, a Jewish woman, in Free Palestine. But again, I like people who I think are authentic, who I believe are truthful, are going to do what they say they're going to do. And it doesn't mean you're a Democrat or Republican, because they never do anything. It seems to lie and use us and then blacklist everyone else to even having a shot at a debate or anything. But long story short, I did back Bernie Sanders in that little deal because at least the socialist Bernie Sanders told the truth to what he was. Yeah. I went to a Trump rally early on as a Bernie Sanders supporter, wouldn't vote for the man. But again, he was truthful. He's Democrat not voting for him, Republican not voting for him. But when I went, I found out very quickly that these people who were backing this man, Donald Trump, were the opposite of what they were being portrayed as. And they were very kind and they debated, and it was literally like a family reunion. And it literally shocked me because it wasn't what I expected. I expected that they were going to be racist, they were going to be bigoted, they were going to be just hostile. Not at all. The only hostile individuals that I saw, unfortunately, were the activists from the Democratic side of the aisle who were across the street throwing things, hurling insults, and chanting like absolute insane individuals that were mentally deranged. Absolutely. It was really frightening and it's shocking, but very telling. And again, I'm very neutral. I call balls and strikes. If I don't like something, I pretty much voice it, whether you like it or not. I'm sorry, it's who I am. And I'm not right all the time. I'm wrong a lot, but I pivot when I get more data. Right. I'm not always going to stay wrong. I want to be factual, and I want to be as truthful as I can. It's the only way we can be move forward in a positive manner for the benefit of the many, So I was shocked, embraced. I listened to him, and then I was just like, this guy. I remember him being a Democrat and being embraced by the black population for his philanthropy and his giving and his caring for individuals who couldn't get loans from banks, that he would help assist in doing it because they were minorities. Jesse Jackson loved him. The Clintons loved him. Everybody who was known in the what we would call civil rights way of doing things and seeing things and was known and recognized pretty much liked this man. And yet all of a sudden he was this racist, the most evilest creature. He's Adolf Hitler. He's this, he's that, because he ran on the Republican ticket and slaughtered these do nothing, absolutely horrific neocons, just slays them, and he's a Democrat. And I was like, I like this guy. And then I'm listening to the legacy media tell all these lies about, oh, he did this, he killed the last unicorn. It was him. Yeah, he's really Jeffrey Dahmer. Yeah, that's the guy right there. He's really Osama bin Laden. It was Donald the whole time. And they want you to believe this garbage.
Some people do believe it, though. That's the scary part.
But it was completely lies. And I'm like, hold on real quick.
Retards.
This guy literally is a flawed human being like we all are.
Yeah.
There's so much truth out there that you could go after this man that you guys just are making up the most nonsense, the unicorn killer again, most nonsensical stories that you can, instead of going after him with something that might be legitimate, that you could actually probably, again, he's giving you stuff, but you're making nonsense up and slandering him. And I couldn't go with it. So I would correct people and I'd be like, that's not accurate. And they'd look at me like, you're crazy. And I'm like, listen, I'm a Bernie Sanders supporter. What are you talking about? And they would, oh, you're not, you're a plant. It's like, no, I'm a normal person. I promise.
Right.
I
But
can't
you use critical thinking. You analyze the data, you make a decision, and you stand on that. Like some people just blindly like, oh, he's a Russian asset. Like, stop it. No, he's not. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what is going on? We need to strangle these people. I want to sometimes, but
it would be easier if we could, but we can't, because we're,
we can't. We might get in trouble for it.
We're civilized, and we know ultimately the only people that have the monopoly on violence is Washington.
Yeah, that's right.
Outside of that, we we do whatever we want to you guys. You take it and shut up. But I digress. So I tell people like that. I literally campaigned for George Bush Jr.
Yeah.
I campaigned for this man twice. It was during his second election of him. I didn't vote for him. I campaigned for him. A Republican again. I'll support you, but I'm not voting and wasting my vote because I think you're a cancer. And evil's evil. The left's evil, the right's evil. And that was the way I saw it. Democrat, Republican, both evil. And which one's less poison? They're both poison. Either way, we're both dying, whether it's slow or fast. I'm like, I'm good. Green, libertarian, independent. But I think I'm pretty middle of the road. I try to stay as centered as I can. And when I get enough information, and I'll pivot because I don't want to be wrong.
Well, so how did you, so you were converted, you supported Trump, the man, not necessarily the Republican Party, but so what led you to January 6th? Did you see, what led you there? Was there problems with the election? Did you?
Well, and then we'll lead to the election stuff. So now we had the COVID nonsense, the absolute destruction of the economy and literally everybody's day-to-day lives. And then the censorship. And then we're to believe that there's no election issues. Well, my whole life, the left, the Democrats, and the Republicans always talked about there's problems in the election. They even called it out. What's crazy is what the right and what the Republican side of the aisle and people were saying was just borrowed from what literally the Democrats had been pointing out. Hillary Clinton pointed it out. Nancy Pelosi pointed it out. We all of a sudden forget all that, where there was all these voter integrity issues and are to believe there was never any issues.
You're an election denier, sounds like, Peter.
And the reality to it is to say there isn't any issues in the election process is wrong. Look at Judicial Watch and what they were achieving. It founded in like 99. Freedom of information's clear and voter registration rules. We know there's issues, but now all of a sudden we're supposed to act and say
the most secure election ever.
It just, hold on real quick. I wasn't born yesterday, but I don't care how much you gaslight me.
Yeah.
The data's there.
Right.
Now, whether it was enough to swing the election, I don't know. But to say that it's not, and then ultimately the lawfare.
Yeah. Well, but you had these the 5 swing states that were won by, I want to say, between like 8,000 and 12,000 votes. There was very small margins in like 5 states at least. I think that may be correct or incorrect, but something like that. So very minute amount when you're tallying millions of votes. 10,000 votes is not very many, It's a minute amount that could swing an election.
Some were won by hundreds.
Yeah.
A few races were only won by 100 votes or something
Yeah.
like that. So yeah. But again, we know because the history of both parties pointing out that these voter rolls were messed up. And then all of a sudden we have the issues with the mail-in ballots. And then the courts dragging their feet on basically handling them in a speedy manner that caused more. And then you have the racial tensions of Black Lives Matter, Antifa. Some people say the Proud Boy. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle. You always have a villain, or they always give you someone to choose against to divide us. So pick your poison, pick your team, we seem to like to box people into this, but there was all kinds of issues. I go to January 6th because ultimately the load that I carried from Georgia into Delaware, I drop it off and my dispatch is like, we don't have anything for you. I'm on the East Coast. Find me something. I'm going to go to bed. We'll call us when you wake up. We'll have something. I call them. Nothing. I say, okay, you can't find me anything. You can go home basically dry. You can lose money. You can cost the owner of the truck gas money. You're not going to get paid anything. No, find me a load. I want to make money. I'm going to make him money. I'm just going to take it off. I'm going to go listen to the president leave. This was a very interesting election. There's all kinds of answers. It's going to be historical. He's on his way out. He's very polarizing. I'm just going to go hear what he has to say.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to do. There we go. I go. I immediately get there. It's freezing cold. I'm looking around and there's so many people and it's so cold and I'm just in disbelief at how many people. I've never seen so many people, all walks of life. The blacks for Trump, the CCP people were there. There were so many Asians. It was unbelievable. I was talking to people from Myanmar. There was literally Democrats. There was Black Lives Matter supporters who literally were fed up because of what happened to Bernie that literally voted for Trump there. I was shocked at the diversity in the crowd and for these people who showed up just as the middle finger to the system because they were tired of being railroaded by these lying politicians in Washington. And they just said, you know what? Screw you guys. We're going to vote for the grenade called Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Because he's the biggest fuck you're ever going to get. And I apologize about the French.
No, you're fine.
But the what he represented in the monster vote was the fleeing of the Democratic Party from individuals that were Bernie brothers, the Hispanic population that had been lied to for 40 years about becoming anchor or what do you call them? Dreamers. The dreamers said, "We're done with you guys." Yeah. They were shouting down Nancy Pelosi and stuff. You had the gay and lesbian individuals that were like, "We're done with you guys. You have done nothing but literally use us as a puck, and we're tired of literally you guys only doing the bare minimal." Yeah. And they literally voted for Donald Trump. Yeah. You had all these people doing this throughout the United States that they couldn't tabulate this because it had never happened so much. That's the monster vote. It shocked me. Yeah. That he even beat Hillary Clinton because that was unseen even. Yeah. But so I go and I'm listening to him and I'm just like, he didn't say anything great or anything. And I'm
finally, it was a long speech.
Finally it's over and it's freezing cold. And I was we sang happy birthday. It's like the biggest Guinness Book of World Record happy birthday that had ever been sung. There had to be, I'm going to say 900,000 to 1.3 people.
At least.
There were so many people that no matter where you looked, people would disappear into the backdrops of the trees, the building. It didn't matter what it was. I never saw violence. I never heard hatred. I heard a bunch of concerned individuals debating, talking. It was like the biggest family reunion you could ever go to. Never felt threatened.
Yeah.
He finishes his speech and I'm like, all right, I've got to get out of here. It's cold. It's time to make some money. Let's go. And then he says, go down to the Capitol.
Make your way peacefully.
Patriotically.
Down to the Capitol.
And that he would join us.
Well, a lot of people didn't know. No, there was if I would have known now today, if you said Mike Pompeo was going to be speaking at the Capitol, I'd have been like, screw that dude. But I can't stand. I used to like Mike Pompeo, but there was a second slate. Yeah,
he's a Zionist.
Yeah, for sure. There was a second slate of speakers that were supposed to speak at the Capitol. And so that was my intent. That was why I went. I didn't even really register that he said go down there, but I was going to go hear the other speakers. And so go ahead. Yeah.
So, we're making our way there, and I'm marching with the CCP. There's like 100 of them or so, and I'm in front of the banner and meeting the guy that put it together from Texas.
Lao Baijin.
What a wonderful man. A beautiful They're beautiful people. It amazed me at how well they spoke English. Like my English isn't as good as theirs. They were impressive, and they love America and what we represent.
That's right.
And I was very proud of that. Well, all of a sudden we're making our way down, and I start hearing this boom, boom. And I'm looking around and I'm like, dang, would someone bring a cannon? I mean, like they're celebrating. Someone brought a cannon. They're shooting it off because it sounded like a cannon you shoot at football games when you score a touchdown. That was my thought. Not thinking a whole lot. We keep going and everything. And a lady approaches me, and a gentleman that I had been talking with from Pennsylvania. And she's like, can I take a picture of you guys? And she said, you have got the most calming eyes, or something along the lines of that. You look like you guys are having such a good time. And we were like, we just met each other. He's wonderful. And we appreciate it. But yeah, you could take a picture. So took a picture of us. Leaves. All of a sudden, boom, 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 louder. And then all of a sudden, now it's like my throat. And then all of a sudden, it got to where now I'm laboring. And then I turn around, and that's when that first wave of gas hit me. And now I'm having a hard time breathing. Like
where are you at this point? Are you down to the Capitol grounds?
Now
already,
I'm basically I'm to the wall of the Capitol grounds.
Okay.
And now we're literally seeing people everywhere, and the rubber bullets, the police engaging people violently, the crowd just singing patriotic songs. And then the next thing I know, we're just literally getting gassed, and we're nowhere near any action. We're just amongst the people,
collateral damage, really.
And they are lobbing munitions, percussion grenades, smoke grenades. And now people are panicking, and people are getting hurt, and they aren't doing anything but occupying space. So I'm a little agitated, and then I'm like, I want to go to a higher vantage because I want to see what actually is going on. I make my way to a little higher vantage point. I climb the scaffold, and I get as high as I can. And I'm literally, now I can see the tunnel thing, and I can see people, and I can clearly see they're visibly angry. They're singing patriotic songs, and now they're gassing people with these super soakers with mace or whatever, bear spray or whatever it is. And now people are falling. People are now really getting hurt. I see individuals covered in vomit, people bleeding from the head. While I was trained in first aid.
Right.
My first thought was, I need to pray. I said a prayer. And I had this voice inside of me. I was like, it's time to go. Trump's obviously not speaking. It's time for me to go. It's getting dangerous. And then I had this voice tell me, help. And I remember I'm no, I'm not helping anything. If I go over there, I'm liable to fall down and die, but I don't want to know. I'm good, and I'm really having this moment to myself, and I'm thinking there's no way. And then I remember I called someone, and I called my sister, and I told her, I said, pray for our country, because she's a really good prayer warrior. Got that from my dad and our family. And she lived in Mississippi. I hung up the phone with her, and then my phone rings, and I answer it, and it's a guy, and he's like, man, there's something going on in Washington, D.C. and I was like, yeah, what is it? He said, man, there's people inside the building. I just saw a guy run by the screen. Man, tell me that you have your shirt on. And then I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, one of the guys that was, I guess, was the Q shaman. Didn't have, kind of had like a bear
QAnon shaman,
but he was one of the guys that was with him, and the guy thought it was me. And I said, well, I am in Washington, actually, man. This is crazy. It's getting out of hand. It's crazy. And he's like, well, be careful. And I said, but no, I'm not. There's no way I'm going into that death trap.
Yeah.
Hang up the phone with him, and then I start making my way down there, and I start handing waters out. And I there was a point where I looked to the left, and I could have exited. And I thought, if I leave, I'll never forgive myself, and I'm gonna have to stand before God. I'll answer for why didn't you help people who needed you? You're trained. And I knew at that moment that I had to at least give all the water I had with me out. So I immediately start popping lids and handing them to people that are walking by, dousing their eyes. This one guy basically had a knot on his head. He was bleeding. He had boogers, snot just all down his face. He couldn't see. I poured the water on it. A lady comes up to me, and I usher him away. I told her, I said, he needs to go to the ambulance. He's going to have stitches. His head was cracked open. I mean, he got cracked over the head with something that was very hard. I imagine at this point now, it was very likely a baton by law enforcement. I start making my way closer to the thing. I remember hearing something about they killed a kid inside. That's when things just went apoplectic. That's when the crowd just came unglued. Whoever it was that was relaying information, I think now ultimately we know that, one of the individuals was Ryan
Nichols on the megaphone.
When he made his thing on that megaphone, and then law enforcement basically did what they did as far as volleyed those grenades, those flashbangs or those percussion grenades in it, the crowd.
Well, then they kicked
done.
Roseanne Boylan's body out into the crowd.
That happened later. That happened afterwards. So I'm making my way. I turn around at this point, and I think I have a couple more waters left. And the next thing I know, bodies are cascading down
the stairs on the lower west terrace.
On the lower west terrace, I'm covered literally in mace because everyone's getting maced and gassed, and you're having a hard time breathing. And I grab this person that I can kind of see is blurred. I grab them, I get them to their feet, and I yell, "Get them up! Get them up! They're going to die. These are your brothers and sisters. We're all Americans. Get them up." I didn't realize how at that moment that my life was going to change. All I knew is I was in a full out panic because I knew the severity of the amount of carnage and bodies of people that were getting beat over the head and thrown. And now all of a sudden, even though I'm trained in first aid, I wouldn't be able to help anyone because I'm so shocked. I'm so out of my mind because I cannot fathom for the life of me why they're attacking these people.
The professionals on the ground.
People that we are literally begging and pleading to help. And we were begging and we were pleading for them. Why are you doing this? Help us. We're dying.
Well, and they basically bulldozed a pile of people down the stairs, and it was literally like water. They piled up, and now there's people underneath that can't breathe. And that's how Philip Anderson got knocked unconscious, and there's all kinds of stuff.
So before that happened right there, I get me and the crowd help that lady up. I run basically. And I grab a pile of legs and stuff. And I get this man, and I've got my arms under each one of his shoulders, and I try to lift him up. And his legs are they're wrapped like spaghetti around each other. And there's people everywhere. And again, I'm maced and having a hard time breathing. And he's telling me, put me down. My legs, they're broke. And he's making these most awful noises because he's in such pain. And I have to set him down. And then all of a sudden, this kid pops up out of this pile of bodies that the police have literally bludgeoned and thrown.
Like a minor, like an underage child.
A kid that couldn't have been more than my daughter's age, maybe 13 at the time. And the kid blinks his eyes and then walks off. I'm just in shock. And then I'm like, remember, where are you at? Grab the guy again, try to pull him. And he ultimately is like, hey, and I can't get him out. And he's like, put me down, just leave me. And I'm actually crying because I know the reality is I can't get him out, and I'm hurting my back. And I tell him I'm sorry, and I set him down. And about the time I set him down, I realized that I can see that there's something laying. It's a body, and it's not moving. Okay. I make my way to it. I remember I threw my hands in the air. I pointed at my face. I didn't have a mask on, and I moved slowly. Now, again, I'm having a hard time seeing. And I'm stepping over people, and I make it to whatever it is that's laying there. They're unconscious. I remember grabbing their legs. I remember looking at the police line, and I remember pleading for them. This person is dead. They're dead. And then all of a sudden, it was like everything went silent. I couldn't hear anything because I was in utter shock. Somebody grabbed the individual's shoulders, and basically I grabbed their legs, and we ushered them to the left of the pillar, and we set him down by the window. And when I looked up, I remember seeing a camera in my face with a microphone. And then I just remember turning around and looking at the crowd. I still can't hear anything. And I'm just in utter shock. And I remember yelling, God, how could this be? This is America. And then I started slapping my face. Well, I fell down. I don't even remember it, but I saw it on video. And I popped back up. And when I popped back up, I can't see or anything. Someone yelled something like, pick up that flag. Instinct kicks in. We never let flags hit the ground in America. I pick up this flag that's just on the ground that was discarded because of the chaos. And then the next thing I know, when I turn, the Roseanne incident's happening and more bodies are falling. And Lila Morris is uncorking and the crowd goes ballistic.
And by uncorking, you mean she's knocking the crap out of Roseanne on the ground.
From where I'm at and from what I can see, she's beating her over the head. And again, I've already carnage. I'm expecting there to be a lot of dead people. And I'm absolutely, I'm in shock still. And then I start making my way back up and then I see something coming down and I know that there's a group. Now, again, we're having a hard time breathing. We've been maced. We've been flashbanged. We're clearly in a complete shell-shocked mentality. We're in bad shape psychologically because this can't be real. I just uncork on this individual who's wearing all black. All I see is like these black military-like boots. And I just start swinging for the fences. Yeah. It was a police officer, come to find out. It wasn't Antifa. The only people that I believed would show up to something like that in all black was Antifa. It was a police officer. In the state that I was in, I went after him. Yeah, sure. Regardless of, and it wasn't deliberate. I didn't have any intentions on harming law enforcement.
Like you went there to do that.
I had no idea that anything like that was even possible. I was adamant about and shocked because law enforcement had caused a riot. And knowing law enforcement from my family, I have a lot of family members that were law enforcement in the sheriff's department, some of the highest decorated in the state of California, Fort Worth, Texas here. My grandfather's brother was a sheriff in Fort Worth, military background in our family. Like we support first responders and everything. No matter what, we give them the benefit. But when they do wrong, they do wrong. They did wrong. They assaulted women. They assaulted children. They assaulted the elderly. They assaulted individuals. Now, they were scared. I get that now, but so were we. And I don't care who you are or what you are. When you're assaulting innocents, you can stand there and watch, or you can respond with equal or less force. You're entitled to that. We were all assaulted. We had a right to be angry. I know that people would disagree with me on that, but the reality to it is we used less force. We didn't harm. People got harmed, and there was a lot of carnage, and it was very ugly, but we didn't kill anybody. They murdered 4 of us. Yeah. You know, it was 4 unarmed Americans that lost their lives. It's the biggest tragedy that I think I will ever experience in my life. I never, ever envisioned or thought that something like that would happen on U.S. soil. And it should have been prevented. But again, the mainstream media and these damn evil creatures in Washington, D.C. caused the division in that environment by their unwillingness to literally set aside differences and to unite us. They deliberately have divided us, put us in boxes, and have had each other at each other's throats.
It's easier to control that way. They have an agenda. They know what they're doing. It's very intentional.
It's really sad. But that was what I basically did. And I exited. Maccabee basically helped Roseanne, Jake Lang, saved Philip Anderson, or pulled him to defeat. There was a lot of us that were trying to do as much as we could. All we cared about was helping people who were down. To hell with respecting anything at that point, because The only thing that mattered to us was helping individuals, and then also you go into this fight mentality or flight.
Yeah.
And fortunately, a lot of good men and women simply don't back down to something that they don't agree with, and that goes against literally their moral fiber. And it didn't matter if you were wearing a uniform on that day.
You're not gonna. Yeah, that's
It didn't matter because the line was crossed when Americans started dying at the hands of the people that were supposed to protect us.
Well, when you're assaulting elderly and women, that's something that I refuse to tolerate, refuse to put up with. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
who's doing the assaulting, who, it really doesn't matter at that point. It's like it's game on. And after I've seen other people be assaulted, somebody's been shot and killed inside the Capitol.
Yeah.
I feel like you're stealing an election. You staged a riot, manufactured a riot to cover up a stolen election. Like it's not. I'm not.
And both parties were complicit. That's to say, we still haven't gotten to the bottom of it.
No.
They never have to give us the evidence; they hide it, and that's what they've continued to do for almost everything, because they've been complicit in it. And
they still haven't released all the footage.
Everybody's mad at the Democrats, and I tell people, we know that they think different than us, and they're on the opposite spectrum. Why are we focused on clean your own house up?
We know what to expect from them. That's what I always say.
Yeah.
We know what they're going to do.
You know exactly.
Discount
what they're
that.
gonna do.
What about the traitors you got in your own camp that you're sleeping next to every night, that you call your ally or
That's
your
right.
fellow Republican conservatives that are stabbing you in the back? And it's like the people like Tom Tillis and other people that don't need to be in the party, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, and any number
Tom
of others.
Cotton,
Yeah, Mitch McConnell, Tom Cotton, God
Lindsey
damn.
Graham, Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the time that Florida, Marco Rubio, he's kind of redeeming himself quite a bit right now, but I don't trust him. Ted Cruz is another horrible individual.
No.
He can be the fake nonsense, and
He is
people
our
think he's-
John Cornyn. Good God.
oh my goodness. It's just, again, it's these people are not for us. They don't represent us.
They're for them. And
they get
when we say-
elected and they don't give two craps about the constituents. They don't.
Yeah.
They're going to enrich themselves
at our expense.
They're going to come to Washington with very little. When they leave, they're going to be worth 10, 15, 30, 40, 150 million. And they're going to do it all by insider trading and basically with kickbacks and bribes.
Well, I think we might be leaving DC with a little bit of money too when all this is said and done, Peter. Hopefully.
Yeah, the reality is the individuals that were murdered on January 6th by their own government. There needs to be a memorial. There needs to be a reckoning. There needs to be individuals like Michael Byrd have got to go and pay the price for what he did. This man was on a radio talking about shots fired, and there was never a shot fired. And then he shoots an unarmed woman that was not a threat to him. He murdered her, and he knew he was going to do it because he gave that fake call on that radio thinking that his brothers would open fire and he could get them to fire and he wouldn't be the only one to squeeze the trigger, and it didn't work. He was the only coward that killed an unarmed woman.
If you can send Derek Chauvin to prison, then you need to be able to send Michael Byrd to prison.
Absolutely.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good for the goose. It's good for the gander.
It is. What's interesting is, like, for me, I call for Derek Chauvin to be pardoned because the reality is again, the media lied. The mob intimidated the juries and threatened them, and then burnt literally communities to the ground, their own communities to the ground.
You didn't have a choice.
Hard-working Americans, their brothers, their sisters, their uncles, their grandparents, they burnt their shops to the ground. They paid the price, their own communities. That's how sick this is. And yet they were given a pass. But yet,
we didn't get a pass.
If you were what they deemed to be on the opposite end of the spectrum, you were thrown to the wolves. And then the lawfare, they wanted to make examples of you. You had judges literally legislating from the bench and writing legislation, and then ultimately ruling. And then they want to say, we're going to give plea deals. Well, we want you to acknowledge that you aren't in duress. Well, we are in duress. You're literally holding us hostage. You've kidnapped us.
Well, so before you're getting a little bit ahead. Before you got arrested, you said you exited the Capitol. Then I remember you gave an interview, And I remember this was always something you're just like, if they didn't have that interview, like it was what we're doing. You said you came in hot on the interview.
I came in hot, absolutely. I could not wrap my head around. I laid down basically what I had witnessed, the division that the media and the politicians had basically put out there and caused everyone to be divided. It was a powder keg. And then law enforcement literally doing what they did, even though their superior officers said, do not engage, do not use those munitions, don't do that. They did it anyway. Not all of them, enough of them.
But they did it improperly too. They were shooting rubber bullets
at
head
people's
high.
heads. They were beating people. They were using lethal force, hitting people in the shoulders and the head.
Yeah.
They violated every single thing in the handbook to crowd control. And then they disregarded literally the superior officers. And that you had people like Bagshaw, an absolute criminal.
That's the one that hit me in the head from behind.
And he's been getting away with. They've got him on film doing all kinds of bad stuff.
He shot and killed somebody in DC. While we were in DC.
Right. Yeah. But even before that, this man has his entire career like Michael Fanone of being a dirty cop. They literally are stains on the badge. They're the reason why police officers are disrespected by the public. It's because of that type of behavior. These people are evil. Yeah, and when you have leadership like that doing that, people are going to follow suit because you're a team. But they caused their people to be endangered because of their hatefulness and their want for violence. But I gave a speech. I pointed at the Capitol and I said, everybody in there is a treasonous traitor. All those law enforcement officers. I mean, again, you got to remember, they just murdered people in front of me. They killed someone inside the building that I thought was a child. I was trying not to convey because I didn't want people to engage law enforcement. But I just, the image of Roseanne and then the individual that I pleaded for that was dead and they wouldn't help. And I always thought they were dead. I think they're alive, very likely, looking at it now. But everybody in that building is a treasonous traitor. All those law enforcement officers, death is the only remedy they get.
And that's what you said on the.
And that's what I said. They take this to court, okay? And I stand by this. Treason is treason. Let's not be kidding. Our necks were on the line. If you think I'm guilty of treason, you could have had my neck. I would gladly die for it because I believe in what we did was righteous. Okay, we didn't ask for that. We didn't deserve it. Just like black folks and Hispanic folks don't deserve to be murdered, shot in the back 100 times by law enforcement for reaching for a wallet because they don't speak English.
Yeah,
they are fearing for their life, and you're lighting them up, and you're getting a pass. That's bad policing. But again, I digress. Going on, the mistreatment and the overreaching of the culture that the administrators have set for law enforcement to operate under. Start charging the leadership that makes those policies. Just like you would the police officers that were on the ground, and then you'll see change. That right there is how you change or defund the police, as the left likes to say. We had an opportunity to unify and to really make substantial change. So going back to the saying that I said, I meant every word of it. Okay, I don't hash that by any means, but that's not my saying. That's forefathers talking. I was repeating. I added something to it. Yeah, but the reality to it, what they said is death is the only remedy for treason. And the unfortunate thing about it is they're supposed to be held to a higher standard than us.
Yeah, they're the professionals on the ground. Yeah.
And when they do bad behavior, their penalty is supposed to be so severe that none of them would be willing to ever cross that line because they see very publicly and very harshly them being dealt with because they were public servants
to protect and serve.
So as far as I'm concerned, we need to get to the bottom of the treason that these people committed against not only the president, but we the people. And it's in both parties. I agree. And let the chips fall where they fall. And again, though, the reforms that need to happen, we're not getting any of that even with this, what we have right now. Now, don't get me wrong. I like what the administration is doing right now. They've only been in for 130 days. That's still not enough time. But where are the rest? When's Jim Comey going to walk out with handcuffs for the treason he committed? When is Brennan going to walk out with it? When are individuals who said that laptops were misinformation from Russia? When are people going to be held accountable for undermining the elected president? The Adam Schiffs, the Mitt Romneys, the Lindsey Grahams. I'm not kidding. Lindsey Graham is tied to all of this nonsense. Yeah. What do you call her that did the fake committee stuff for January 6th? Dick Cheney's daughter.
Yeah.
That
Liz Cheney.
Liz Cheney, that evil creature. Sorry excuse for a woman. Uh,
Well, so let's kind of jump back to January. So you made it home. Did you get a load out of DC finally?
no, ultimately, I didn't. I was just in absolute shock. I ended that interview, and then they basically edited it, didn't say anything except for that clip.
Do you still did you get that?
Oh, it's out there.
You have it?
You can
Okay.
find it. It's
Okay.
definitely out there. Which
we might
again,
need to play that for the audience.
it's pretty. Again, it's very polarizing and everything, and then the imagery of me, in my actions.
But it was a hot take. It was like literally minutes after, or
It was
hour after everything
no,
happened.
it was literally probably, I want to say, I don't know, because time stands still when you're in
Right.
shock. When you're in absolute shock and you're not trained to handle that type of emotional trauma, and in just absolute disbelief. Like I couldn't figure out if I was just in a bad nightmare and I wasn't waking up.
Yeah.
It wasn't until really the next day when I woke up and I showered and then basically activated all the chemicals,
yeah.
and then I was absolutely on fire that it actually sunk in that,
what had happened?
holy crap,
Yeah.
this is not good. And the flood of emotions that hit me. So I head home, and then my thought is I've got to turn myself in. They killed a woman. I sent out a message, and I said, this individual, I believe her name is Roseanne Boland, was murdered by the Capitol Police in front of, she's dead. I believe this is her from Georgia. That was literally in the first 24 hours.
Wow.
That was probably within 10 hours of the actual it going down.
Dang.
And and I was just trying to find out who the names of these people were. I was expecting it to be dozens of Americans. And ultimately it ended up being 4. No law enforcement were killed. But Benjamin Phillips,
yeah.
Brian Greason,
Kevin Greason.
or I'm sorry, Kevin Greason,
yeah.
Ashley Babbitt,
yeah.
and Roseanne Boland,
Yeah.
all unarmed, went to essentially to see a president exit office and a new president to be certified
and protest the
and
election.
they did exactly what is asked of you if you disagree with something, and they didn't get to go home to their loved ones, and they again murdered at the hands of their very governments, and have they've never had an answer for any of it. And I'm glad to see that the Babbitt family did get a little relief at least, but you can never monetarily fix the loss of an individual and everything that they bring, children, the generations that come at you, and then, Mickey having to live that nightmare every single day. It's horrible.
Yeah.
And then the trauma of now every individual who was there being hunted down, like literally they showed up with munitions to overthrow the most powerful country in the nation, but yet we forgot our weapons. We just decided, we're going to topple it. Hey, Russia. Hey, China, sit back. We got you. We're going to pick up these flagpoles, and we're going to pick up whatever we can get our hands on, and we're going to topple the United States government. We don't need tanks, airplanes, or machine guns. We got you. Hold my beer. It's so. Do you know how insulting it is? If I'm like Vladimir Putin, I'm like the paper tiger.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
What does that make him be? I mean, what is that Kim Jong? I mean, like any of these leaders that are overseas that are supposed to be our adversaries, they had to have been laughing at us. The American government said that the people barehanded almost toppled them. But it's ridiculous. And then for us to be persecuted and hunted down by the FBI, we had individuals, again, like me, that contacted law enforcement. The law enforcement tell us we have no bolo for you.
Yeah. I reach out as well.
We can't even put cuffs on you because there's no crime that's been committed. And you're like, I'm telling you, I was there. No, don't waste your time. We can't. The FBI didn't even reach out for them. Even if they contacted the FBI held it. Yeah. And then they show up like they're with cameras, CNN and NBC and ABC. And of course, that whole mouthpiece apparatus of garbage legacy propagandist, to embarrass and to shock and to scare the communities and to traumatize everybody. And then they financially bankrupt you. They use lawfare. They cancel you. These judges basically that are putting juries together and half the jurors work directly with the individuals that you supposedly are the victims. I mean, I thought we were supposed to have, juries of our peers.
Yeah.
None of them are our peers at all.
They all felt like victims.
They all said, you guys are guilty because how dare you come to our, this was Emmett Sullivan, my judge, specifically said, how dare you come to my community, my place where I live, and commit domestic terrorist acts. What he said to Colton McAbee. Okay, again, a hero. Who out of all the people I ever met on January 6th, going through what we went through, what they did to that man and his family is so shameful. The man should have been pinned a hero. And then they just absolutely slandered him. Like they did so many. We could relate to that, but here's the reality on it. They knew exactly what he was doing and how he was helpful. A lot of people were helpful. And then you see now they were ushering people in. The only people that were fighting law enforcement wise were in the West Harris. Really, they were literally walking people around and acting like guides. And then you got clowns like Harry Dunn that want to lie on the Oath Keepers who protected and saved that man's life. And he's going to act like he's going to shoot him and start ranting about Democrat rhetoric and I love Joe Biden and screw you Trump supporters, you're evil, you communists, this and that. And these guys were hateful. Michael Byrd and him hateful. The stuff they said online would have got us all shit canned.
Well, now he's running for office too. I think he's Congressman Harry Dunn of maybe Baltimore or Maryland or something.
Yeah, well, he perjured himself in court, not just him, but the other officers. When are they held accountable? Oh, yeah, that's right. Because in the District of Columbia, law enforcement and government officials are allowed to perjure themselves in court. They can lie, and then you can't even use defense of a third party.
No.
Or they tell you point blank, we'll tell you what evidence you're allowed to use in your own trial to defend yourself. Oh, you can't say that. If you say that, we're going to give you 20 more years. Oh, you want us to hit you with 3 more indictments? Oh, just take it. This is the best deal you're going to get. It's 7 to 12 years. You could be spending 40, but yet tell the public that you weren't under duress. It's a great deal. And then tell them that Donald Trump made you do it. That evil unicorn killing heathen,
racist, misogynist.
That Adolf Hitler,
gay basher.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's sick. And, for any man, and again, to each his own, but the reality is, like I tell everyone that I encountered, stand on what you did. We do have the moral high ground, and the people will back you. You can't run from what you did. There's too many cameras and too many eyes. That's now, right. Just because they've controlled the narrative and literally violated our due process, American citizens, and literally held us like me, 40 months before I had my day in court. I never had a criminal record. I have a clean background. They wouldn't even give me bond. You have murderers that they murdered their baby in Washington, D.C. and threw him in a dumpster, and they got bond. Yeah. But yet us murdered nobody.
Was high on drugs, threw the baby in the dumpster, rolled over on it, fell asleep, killed the baby. I remember this on the news. We watched it. Threw the baby in a dumpster, and then gets released on bond.
Yeah, but yet us, we couldn't get bond because we murdered officers. We're still waiting. Charge me for
where's
it.
The body?
And you called us insurrectionists and domestic terrorists. Well, where's my charge at? My neck is right here. Send me to Gitmo.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then you got magazines that want to make a joke of it and be like, look at these clowns talking about Gitmo and this. Well, if we're what you say we are, we deserve to hang.
Yeah. If it's real.
And we would gladly do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we would have gladly done it because we weren't guilty of it.
That was a good letter, though.
But do you know who was guilty of it? Those evil creatures that represented us that day that threw a coup. They have a lot to run and hide from. They're going to be held, hopefully, they'll be held accountable. And they need to be held accountable. There needs to be a reckoning. Oh, my goodness.
Did you sign that letter, the Gitmo letter?
I did, absolutely.
For those of you who don't know what he's talking about, we, as a group, we came together and we're like thinking, because basically in the DC jail, they denied us visits for 2 years. They denied us religious services for 2 years. They denied us haircuts for a year. They denied us fingernail clippers for a year. All under the guys, well, we wouldn't take the vaccine. And so even if you did take it, they were still not going to give you those things. But we said, well, even these legitimate, whoever it is, ISIS, ISIL, Al-Qaeda terrorists in Gitmo, they're getting to go outside and pray. They're getting, their special diet for their Muslim Islamic diet, whatever it is. We know they're getting rec regularly, this, that, or the other. And we're like, well, we should just request to be taken to Gitmo, because they're going to make sure that you get whatever issue you got, you're getting it, you're getting that coming to you. And we weren't getting that in DC. So we're like, why don't we just write a letter, even if it is kind of over the top, requesting that we get sent to Gitmo? And it got released to Rolling Stone magazine, and they printed it. Maybe we can pull that up at some point and put that on the screen or whatever. But yeah, no, it was a we went through a lot. So how much time did you do total? And give us, like, what's your take on, like, the DC jail and how was all that? Because
the horrors of this is simply this. I was part of the CTB original crew. Again, I spent 40 months in detainment before I actually had my day in court, which I would have pled guilty, acknowledging everything that I did, but I wouldn't lie and say I did something that they wanted me to say.
Well, they wanted you to stipulate. Like, they would say, you can take this plea deal, but you have to stipulate to these facts.
Absolutely.
They want you to sign.
They want you to say
number one is the
unicorn killer Donald Trump made you do it.
Right.
And you knowingly and willfully went to Washington, D.C.
to overthrow
the government and to cause bodily injury to law enforcement, which is not even true. It's so much nonsense. But yet, that was the gun that was being held to our heads. And it was like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to, you want me to perjure myself so I can go home.
There you go. Early. You pulled up the letter right there.
And it's like, no, I'm not going to perjure myself to get a lighter sentence. And I'm not going to literally tell lies on individuals so I can go home early, even though I don't know anything. Yeah. But that's what they wanted. Yeah. And to each his own. We all
they wanted to turn us. They wanted to turn us against each other. Then you would get a plea offer for whatever. Say it was 7 to 12 years, and then if they say, if you don't take it, we're going to give you 20 years, and then your wife gets wind of it, and she's like, You're talking about going to trial, and they're going to give you 7 to 12. That's way better than 20. Right. So they would manipulate your family against you to where you had to take the plea offer.
Well, yeah, and then they bankrupt you financially. They slander you online through NGOs and these supposed independent journalists that just lie. I mean, they alter videos. They take them to court, getting grand jury things. They take everything out of context. They never interview. I never had an interview. I've never to this day gave an interview to law enforcement about January 6th. Okay. It's the most wildest thing ever. Like, I can't. How do you spend 40 months being detained? Okay. You're stripped of your due process. Okay. You're stripped of your civil rights.
Did they ever ask you to do an interview or no?
No. And your human dignities. So there was human rights violations. Yeah. And I don't care what institution you're at in this country. Every single institution is guilty of this. This wasn't exclusive to us Jan Sixers. This is going on to your loved ones right now that are sitting behind bars. Yeah. And if you really cared about anybody, you would go to the damn jails and you would raise hell. You would show up like Mickey and them did on the corners, and you would fight, and you would bring attention and pressure to these evil creatures. And it's sad because the reality is guards are kind of the middle guys. They use the uniform and the shield as the middle guy. They're the ones that catch all the hell. Well, the real evil, nefarious creeps are the ones in administration and the people that are funding it for the private prison industrial complex.
Well, they're exploiting the least educated, the most poor demographic in the nation, and then they're charging them exorbitant amounts for commissary. Mm-hmm. They're charging, like, giving them horrible food to eat. So either you're eating the horrible county food or state food, prison food, whatever it is, or you're getting sodium carb loaded, heart attack inducing commissary. And then they're charging you extra for it. Then now you got to pay for, if you want to get any good action going on in the courtroom, you've got to hire a private attorney.
Yeah.
So it's just like, you're up against the wall, and it's not just you going through it. It's your family on the outside. It's grandma, mom, whoever's riding with you.
They suffer harder than you do. And that's the saddest part, because they have to go on without you like you're dead. You're locked up in like an animated state of purgatory or something of the like. Okay. Mm-hmm. And yet they mourn you and have to heal without you, and then you show up and you don't even recognize your own household, your own loved ones, everything that you created that was yours and you worked so hard for, that you love dearly. And I tell it like this: I go home to my children and to the things that kept me from losing my humanity and keeping me happy with the memories that I created with our children and my wife at the time. And it kept me sane because I knew I was loved and knew what we did in the community and throughout our lives was so positive. And then I don't recognize anyone. And I would rather be in solitary confinement to have to go home again. I would never want to live that again. As much as I wanted to hold them and to love them, I was a stranger to them, and they mourned me. I was dead to them.
And so you're divorced now.
Yeah, and that's the saddest part about it. I lost my best friend, and we were together for like 25 years. We were married 20 years. I take full responsibility in it because the position that I put her in and the fact that the danger that my entire family was because of what had transpired, because of the propagandist nonsense that was spewed about me with no truth hardly at all ever being said. And the threats of, against you threaten me. If you want to threaten and go after someone, I'm right here.
Mm-hmm.
But to go after children, to go after a spouse that had nothing to do with it. Think about the trauma that she had to go through because the one that she loved that was there the most and who she depended on as being her equal, all of a sudden is looking at 70 years, 40 years. And the United States government is the one that's persecuting them. It wasn't easy what she did, and she was solid. I have nothing but the greatest respect, and I was a very fortunate and lucky man to have such a strong woman in my life. And it's a tragedy ultimately that my absence ended up being what it is. But I'll never be able to get back the years, my children's most developed years where I needed to be there. And this is not through any fault of theirs.
Right.
They didn't sign up. It wasn't like I planned her in. This was just a part of the fallout that ensues afterwards that you don't ever think about.
The sad thing is it's not your fault either, Peter. This is another casualty of January the 6th. Yes, you committed actions, but you did what I believe any red-blooded American would have done in your situation. Reacted and responded to the traumas and the things that were going on around you. And I responded the same way, very much the same way.
I was selfish though. The reality is I should have been more mindful of my children's well-being along with my wife's. And because of my carelessness and again, my ego wants to say because of my humanity, it did have to play, but the reality to it is I never once thought ultimately about the ramifications to my family. It just didn't happen, but that's the trauma. I'm not a professional. I'm just a normal guy like so many people that got caught up that day. The reality is, and it cost me greatly. Now I will say this though. I'll stand before God and I won't hang my head.
That's right.
Not at all. Because I'll tell you, had I not helped at all, I would have had to answer to that, and I don't think I could have, I don't think I would have been deserving.
I also think there's something to be said for if you believe that, like I believe that the election was being stolen, that they were installing who they wanted as their president with ignoring the concerns of the American people, whether it was whatever, electronic tabulator, whatever it was, whatever the issues that you saw with the election. I believe that it's our right, our duty to stand up. I believe that was when they became tyrannical, and I believe that they got out of line. Now, did we go with the intention of, I don't know what that looks like. I know being there was the only thing I knew how to do, but the other stuff happened I believe they had 10% of the total Capitol Police there on staff that day when they knew there was going to be 1.5 million people. They had those 3 security briefings from the time of the election, November till January 6th. They had 3 like federal, whoever it was, CIA, FBI, had all the traffic that they were receiving. They're saying there's a great potential for violence on January 6th. And they still came with 10% of their total work, their staff. Then they had, they refused the National Guard. They lowered the guard of the Capitol. Then they allowed those people to move the bike racks, to move the ski fencing, to move the trespassing signs. I didn't hear anybody ever say, you need to leave. This is restricted area.
Never
nothing
happened.
like that ever.
They're
launching munitions into the back of the crowd, which is pushing the back of the crowd forward. They're illegally using munitions. There's a lot of things that have led into that. And I don't, I believe, sure, be accountable for your actions. However, I believe we were put in a situation where there was really no right decision. You don't help and you don't get involved, then you have to answer for that. You do get involved, and your family and you are going to suffer as a result. So I commend you for your actions on January 6th. I don't feel like it's something that you need to regret. And I do regret that, and the sad thing is you're not the only person going through. I know Dan Caldwell's going through a divorce. I can't think of them off the top of my head. Jeff McKellop's gone through a divorce. Peter Schwartz has gone through a divorce. Many, many people have lost their significant others, homes, businesses, had their families turn their backs on them, turn against them, testify against them, whatever it is. And so this is just a part of this fight. And I think it's easy for me to say I didn't go through any of those things, but I think that it's important that we sacrifice for this country. I feel like I lived so many years taking this country for granted. I lived outside the law, selling drugs, doing drugs, fighting, running the streets, doing all that. And that now when I became a believer in Jesus Christ, I just feel like this country is worth sacrificing for. I didn't do it on a battlefield like many of our veteran brothers did, but I do believe this situation was an opportunity for me to sacrifice some of my well-being and some of my life to be able to participate in this experiment that is, I believe, the greatest country in the world. And so I commend you for that. And you really painted a picture of the Lower West Terrace for me that really takes me back to like the traumatic
it's hell on earth
experience. It was just like a freaking,
it was carnage. It was like a medieval fight,
like a war zone. I was like, what in the hell is going on? It was like hand-to-hand combat. Like, I mean, it got crazy. And at the same time, like I think about it, like those are people's lives. Like that's just so. And I think about all the people right there, and the majority of the people in the gulag with us were on the Lower West Terrace. You know what I mean? The majority, probably 80% of them were all right there.
We're a bulk of what we now know to be like 26 federal agents were on the ground. What 6 of them were inside, 20 of them were around the West Terrace, which again, when you dig into this, ultimately, we're going to get some more information that they keep dragging their feet on. But when they took our information to grand juries, they removed images of the agents and their assets out of the evidence. They removed the audio, placed audio that they wanted to be placed in it, and presented that so we could get indicted. That's tampering with evidence.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll never, ever get to the bottom of fixing even that. But this is just the shenanigans. The other thing that is so shocking is the damn prosecution knew that I didn't say those things before January 6th. They played it in the court like I said that and assaulted law enforcement. They knew damn well that happened afterwards, after everybody was traumatized. This nation was traumatized. And they literally lie. They're allowed to lie in open court, and they never get penalized for it. This is shameful.
That was something I had never been to trial. As much trouble as I've been in my life, I've never been to trial before. And something that the government is allowed to do, the prosecution is allowed to do. They're allowed to lie in their opening statement. And they're allowed to lie, like knowingly, intentionally, willingly lie their asses off as much as they want in their opening statements and their closing statements. It is permissible under the law of the court. And I'm like, if you have a burden of proving someone's guilt, you shouldn't be able to manufacture and make up, like, you could hypothesize, I believe, but you can't factually state this is what he was doing, this is why he was doing, if you don't know that to be the case.
It's the perversion that they've done to the judiciary. This is literally the lawfare stuff. And it's worse because not only that, okay, they tell you what evidence you can use to defend yourself, and then they withhold evidence also from you. You don't even get your Brady material. I found a majority of my actual, what I would call defense in other people's indictments. I never was given I was given like 6 to 9 seconds of nothing. Not even the stuff they showed in court to get me extradited from Arkansas to DC was I given in my own evidence to fight my case.
Of course not.
See, and I knew something. I told my legal team something's not right. There was no gaps. Where I was at, we were shoulder to shoulder. There's nobody in these pictures. Where's everybody out? It wasn't until 2 years later almost that it dawned on me. And then sure enough, we started piecing. They were literally removing their assets, editing this. They literally tampered with all of our evidence and then gave us manufactured Brady material. They'll never have to answer for that. And then there's what else did they the other thing again that they do is they never told the court that we tried to turn ourselves in, because Well, it doesn't matter. Even if they would have told the courts, the judges would not have given us bond anyway. To hell with us not being career criminals or having backgrounds that showed that we were flight risk.
Mm-hmm.
They had our passports. They knew we weren't going anywhere. There's no way that we're exiting without them knowing as much.
What they wanted was they wanted really.
It was a narrative. It was.
I think
nonsense.
what they wanted the headline, right? That man in Arkansas arrested for whatever storming the Capitol January 6th. But what they really wanted was they wanted somebody who's like stand your ground law to like they kick in the door in with guns and then you shoot them and then they can say, see, look what this MAGA extremist, this ultra MAGA violent,
one-sided story because you're dead.
January 6th. Yeah. Then it's like, see, this is what you're dealing with. These people are violent extremist type people. And I think that's what they were looking for.
Yeah.
But they also wanted that headline. So you ended up taking a plea deal? Or
I ended up taking a plea deal. I served, I believe, I think right at 48 months, I think, or something, something along the lines of that.
Before the pardons?
I got out before the pardons because I was on house arrest. I had an ankle monitor and I had a tracking phone. I wasn't allowed to leave my house except for to go to work or doctor's appointments. I couldn't go grocery shopping. I couldn't get a haircut.
So you're basically in jail.
I was literally. This is why I say I would much rather have stayed in solitary confinement than literally go home and then exist like a corpse.
Yeah.
Well, your world is going on and your family, you can hear them and they leave because they have their lives, but you can't exit because you'll get an escape charge.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and then the obstacles of trying to find work because now you're guilty of being what most people would deem a seditious, traitor to the country for trying to overthrow the government.
You're a white supremacizer.
Yeah, and then the other thing is they go on this. You're white nationalist. You're racist, and I'm like, this is going to be real interesting for my Hispanic, Japanese American children to understand that their dad is a white nationalist. Yeah, bona fide.
Certified.
You can't make this nonsense up. Oh yeah, and by the way, I'm a white nationalist. A racist Muslim. Oh, forget to tell you that part, don't we? Yeah, that's him. So but these people are just, you can't, it's pure lies. That's all that the only thing they can do consistently is disinformation, misinformation, and gaslight you.
Did you watch the election night or?
I did.
How was it? What was that? You were at home, I guess. Were you at home for that?
I was actually, and I love geopolitics, so I track that stuff in elections just in general because to me, I don't know, there's something just in the air that's special, and I knew ultimately, in my heart of hearts, there was no way he could lose, but after witnessing the lawfare and then the dragging of their feet and the perversion of law that the legislating of laws by the judges of the last time
the bench.
Anything was possible.
Yeah.
I mean, I really didn't expect in a way. I knew there was going to be a lot of problems after, no matter what, however it shook out, because at this point there's no election that's going to move forward where anyone's going to have faith in it.
Right.
I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican, it doesn't matter how legit the election is because of the behavior and the unwillingness to truly hold on. Let's give these people the proof. Let's make sure that we're doing things completely right, just so we don't have the division. Just a week would have been great. But the unwillingness to do that told me everything I needed to know. They have the system, the elections and everything operate exactly like the establishment wanted to. It isn't broke, folks. It operates just like they designed
just like they want it.
Do not be fooled. You can't be that stupid, incompetent that it's continuously this. And there comes a point where you're like, no, this is exactly the way it was designed. Yeah. And that's where we're at.
So did you stayed up that night and watched the election?
I did.
Did you celebrate at all, or was it an emotional thing?
It was emotional because I in my heart believed ultimately that they would assassinate him.
Yeah. That was a huge concern of mine.
And ultimately, when you look at the deeds of the deranged, mentally ill individual, that's all we have right now is where's the rest of the people that participated, and why have we not gotten to the bottom of that very transparently? try to take out. I don't care if it would have been Joe Biden in this situation or Kamala Harris. The fact that they try to take out our president is a problem. Yeah. And I don't care what side of the aisle you walk on, that's unacceptable.
They say
we need to have transparency.
If they said it leads back to Ukraine, I don't know if you...
all this stuff leads back to ultimately the globalist. Mm-hmm. JFK didn't just die by some whack job named Lee Harvey Oswald. He was the patsy. Everybody knows that. Mm-hmm. Now, the data dump that they did and the protection continuously of the nefarious globalist interest that was ultimately responsible for many different ways of dispatching a man who literally wanted to change the banking structure. They couldn't allow that to happen. No. Because he was just too big of a threat. The threat of dismantling the intelligence apparatus is something they can never lose control of. And that's what he's dealing with. That's what any president's really dealing with. The only difference is every president in my lifetime, and I'm 45 years old, except for the one that sits there today, was part of the machine. Mm. And even individual like JFK, even though he was assassinated, had it not been for the mob intervention, he would have never been elected president. Mm. He owed them, and he did not do what they wanted him to do. And then he threatened to dismantle the apparatus, and that's unacceptable. Or print a financial system without paying interest, usury, slavery. Mm-hmm. At the heart of basically all the perversion, unfortunately, that enslaves mankind, and then it allows genocides to go on and not be called genocide, or just call it collateral damage and more profits for the military-industrial complex.
If you guys haven't noticed, Peter goes down not the rabbit hole; he goes down the truth trail really fast.
There's no. We don't need to mince words. No, the data's there. There's no sugarcoating it, people. No. The system is perverted. These people are evil. They do not stand on the Republic. In fact, the Republic hasn't existed. You can almost guarantee the Patriot Act dismantled. It was like the death knell to the Republic. We are, and Republicans will tell you, a democracy, and that is simply mob rule by the few and nothing shy of communism. Yeah. They don't want to tell you that, but you know that because in this country, you will always pay taxes and you will never own anything, and you will like it.
I won't like it.
That's what the World Economic Forum tells you.
That's what if I get like one ask from President Trump, it would probably be if I just want to be tax-free for the rest of my life.
It never happened. Yeah. How do you think they fund all the death and the carnage and the fear and the division? It's with tax dollars. So
let's jump back to. So did you feel like, when the election victory came down, did you feel like we were headed towards pardon? What I was wondering was after you saw the election victory for Donald Trump, did you feel like the pardons were inbound, or did you? I know there was a lot of rhetoric by the Rhino media, like saying, "Well, we're going to pardon the non-violent ones versus the violent ones," and this, that, and the other. What was your thinking on all that?
So I came to the realization a long time ago, and I want to say probably a couple weeks before I exited the DC pod to actually go to start serving my federal sentence. I had thought for a long time about the possibilities of what would happen if, some chance he was to be reelected, because I always believed and know that ultimately it was a coup. And that's what this all amounts to, the coup that was thrown against him to undermine his first presidency. And so the fact that what we did, no matter how you sliced it, proved ultimately that we care about this country enough that we would sacrifice everything. No matter what the narrative, no matter what they did to us, we always will be remembered as the individuals who gave it all away and sacrificed for the many. But he will never have a group of people, Americans, who believed in him. We are literally his best asset. So loyal to not him necessarily, but to the Republic that that we're supposed to be, and the idea of what America is supposed to be. And that, and that was kind of always my thought process on that is, but I thought they would go down differently. I didn't expect it to be like sweeping pardons. I was in shock actually when I heard the gavel was smacked down and he just absolutely uncorked like he did. I expected us to have like 3 different layers or waves of pardons.
Did you read the book by Susan Monk where she kind of laid it out? Like there was like total and complete pardon, and then there was like may have reacted and like may have been some questionable behavior, but then there's that pardon, and then there's
no, I didn't. But
then there was another one that was like basically like you're going to get pardoned, but if we come back and do an investigation later, you can be held accountable. That's kind of the way she laid it out in her little book that she wrote.
I assumed that there was really ultimately I figured 3 different waves, but I figured it was like this. You had the individuals, which was the majority of the people that were used as absolute propaganda. They did nothing. They were tourists. They were doing what any American does on any day in DC, walking around and being, ushered around by law enforcement or the Capitol, whatever apparatus. They did nothing wrong, but yet they were portrayed as insurrectionists, violent people who wanted to hang Vice President Pence, but yet they were being ushered around by law enforcement. The realities compared to the lie.
Everybody wants to hang Mike Pence.
So I figured that they would be the first wave because they simply got so railroaded, but they didn't even know that they were in trouble, I think, for the most part. And then I figured you had the individuals who were like the Oath Keepers and who were the Proud Boys and who were Antifa or Black Lives Matter, or if you belong to the 1%ers or a group.
Or the 3%ers.
Or the 3%ers, okay. A group. If you belong to a group, okay, I believed that might be considered a wave. And because the way they got charged, I thought they would be the last group. And then you had the individuals like me, you, and so many that had contact with law enforcement. Doesn't matter how you slice it. The fact that we were charged, whether we did it or not, in a majority of cases, just so much as throwing your fist up at him and looking intimidating was enough to say, hey, you're guilty. You thought about it. Your body language says it. You committed an assault. And then you had, again, us that used an object of some sort that most reasonable people would never consider a weapon. It's not a gun. It's not a knife. It's not an explosive. It's not,
a desk drawer.
Flag poles and chopsticks and
crutch pieces,
water bottles and spitballs. I mean, whatever, desk drawers and anything else. Basically, again, we would be the last group because the optics and possibly the disdain that some law enforcement might have for us getting a break at all. But I believed ultimately that no matter what, we always had the high ground. We didn't ask for that. It'd be different if we asked for it, and we didn't. I know in my heart of hearts, I always believed it.
That we would get pardoned.
We would get pardoned, but it would be a matter of time when.
Yeah. I never gave up hope on that either. I was like one of them. There's a lot of guys you had to talk down off the ledge in the DC gulag, or people that were like, we're so, I can think about, we were talking about Ronnie Sandlin earlier, like, oh my God, like if Trump didn't mention our name in his speech the night that he was giving the speech, oh my God, it was like the sky is falling. It's the end of the world where he's going to forget about us. We're never going to get out of here. And then the next speech he would say, those Gen Sixers, like, and it was like, no, we're going home. Like, it was just like this roller coaster that everybody rode.
But that's the psychosis, the psychological war and battles that we would fight because of the sleep deprivation, the sensory deprivation, the everything, the torment that we would get, the constantly waking us up, the keeping us off balance, the women administrator coming in basically to cause chaos. The white is bad
on holidays.
I mean, it was just like the constant just nonsense that violated like any kind of decency, morals, and ethics of anyone who was not a whack job or just on a power trip. But that was hard enough. We had a lot basically that was playing against us because of the conditions and the extreme turmoil of the environment. And it was, I don't wish it on anybody. It was horrible. They strip you of your, your empathy, your love, and your compassion. They deliberately make you and break you down so you become a heathen or an animal.
Mhm.
The system is designed like that deliberately. And if we were to do this to a dog or a cat or an animal,
Yeah.
people in America would come unglued.
Mhm.
You would see activists like PETA. You would see, I mean, you'd see 500,000 people hit the streets. But yet we allow human beings, our brothers and sisters, to be treated this way
Well, that's
because
what
they
sucked
think different politically.
the due process rights about I don't remember, is it something Abrego Garcia, the dude from Baltimore or whatever it was, that they extradited him to El
He's a criminal.
Salvador. Yeah, he's a
He was a
criminal,
criminal.
a wife beater, whatever, human trafficker, all that. But they're so worried about his due process rights. But yet when it came to us, because we wear the red hat with the white letters on it, then our I argue with and piss people off on Twitter all day long, and it's always like I always bring that up and I'm like, oh well, you deserved what you got, and I'm like, well, either you believe in due process rights or you don't. And it's not conditional upon your ideology or your beliefs or your politics or your race or your gender or your color or your creed or whatever. It's not dependent upon that. It should be equal across the board, and that's what sucks. Is probably the most scary thing about the left to me is they want only for them, right? And we're willing to fight, and I know especially you are willing to fight for even viewpoints that you completely disagree with. Fight for their free speech or their right to bear arms or whatever, whoever it is. Even if they're a Democrat, you want them to be able to carry a gun to protect themselves and their families or whatever it is. We want it across the board. It's not just for us selectively for our side. We want it for everybody because that's what the Constitution guarantees, and we think that should be that way. They want to literally kill us, destroy us, annihilate us, and they would be okay with that. They wouldn't bat an eye at it. They don't have a problem with it.
It's really like, okay, so for me, I'm a free speech absolutist. I don't believe in hate speech. I don't believe in a lot of it's what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And I don't care what you say. I'd rather know where you stand and how you really feel so you don't melt down and snap. Because there's consequences.
I think some people in the Gen 6 community should maybe not be saying everything that they're saying right now. I'm not going to mention anything.
Oh no. It's interesting though, because again, we're all flawed. And we all get pushed to certain points.
Speak for yourself, Peters.
But the reality to it is I want them to be comfortable in who they are and what they are. I remember back when political correctness was the norm, and comedy was great, and we were able to sit down and disagree and eat a meal and then get up and do it again the next day or the next week. We don't do that anymore. In fact, we don't even have debates. We have literally something they call a debate. They're given the questions. They give time basically to think through what they're going to respond. It's completely, there's nothing about it that's a debate. It's all controlled. I don't like that. We need to get back to getting our feelings hurt. It toughened us up. When we were growing up, we used to just beat the crap out of each other, and it made us men. And we were like, gosh, that hurt. And you had a really good friend. Now we don't do that. And now we have people that are so wimpy and weak because when their feelings get hurt, they reach for a gun or a knife because they don't know what it's like just to have their poor little feelings hurt.
I think challenging somebody's beliefs, like you challenge somebody's their foundation, their beliefs, whether they're left or right, whatever. I think when you learn to argue your point of view and you learn to defend that and see the weaknesses in it or see the weaknesses in other people's rhetoric, it reinforces that foundation. It strengthens that. But whenever you have these people that are just so closed-minded and don't argue with everybody they talk to is Trump derangement syndrome, and they only have this one belief system. They can't tell you why, and they just believe the way they believe. There's no strength in that. It's a phony, it's a facade of a foundation of beliefs. I think that's healthy debate. That's what I would love, like having a healthy debate with people. Believe me, Trump says stuff I don't like. Sometimes I feel like, man, I wish he'd shut up. You're just making it worse for us. You know what I mean? But like, I don't expect people to agree with me on everything. And I as a Christian, I know probably my beliefs on abortion are going to be different who's somebody who's just of the world. I don't expect him to believe that. I will argue the why I feel the way I do about it with them or discuss, it doesn't even have to be an argument. Just a discussion. Like, this is why I think, I was almost aborted. I was given up for adoption, different reasons for my thinking. I think you learn to reinforce those arguments and relate to somebody who maybe, I know Peter doesn't agree with me on this, but maybe we can find a common ground in there somewhere that we can agree on it. And I think there's a healthy, that's a healthy thing. We need that. You need to be challenged on your beliefs. You need to, why is it okay to punch somebody in the face? Why is it not okay? Like, you need to challenge that. And that's healthy. We don't get that anymore. Everybody's afraid, or I don't know. There's a lot of stuff on Twitter like, oh, there's Jan Sixers talking to the enemy Antifa and this, that, and the other. Remember you introduced me to, I guess it was Landon Copeland, who was an Antifa dude in the jail, and I ended up sitting down with him and had a 3-hour like conversation with him, just because I'd never talked to anybody from Antifa, and I wanted to know, like, what did he base his viewpoint on? And he bases, he joined the Iraq War because he had heard about the atrocities, and he was against the Patriot Act, and fully against the Patriot Act as well. And so there were some common grounds. They're not like he was.
We can always find it common ground.
He was very extreme on the like. He was like anarchist libertarian. Like, he believed that if he wanted to put cigarettes out on his kid's head because it was his child, that was permissible, okay, because it was his kid. Or if he wanted to break his dog's neck, he could, just because it was his dog. Which a dog's a little bit different than a child, but like, he felt like if he wanted to put his kid in the kennel, he could. He hated the bias of the marital and civil courts towards the woman against the man, because it's very difficult for a man to win your child's rights, or to be treated fairly in a court of law. And so it was a good, I mean, I felt like it was a good conversation, but I know that's some extreme ends of the spectrum, but I do think that America suffers by, and I think that's good about Twitter, that Elon Musk bought it, that you can kind of, for the most part, you can say whatever you want on there, and people can challenge you. And it's funny, there's a lot of haters on Twitter, but most of them aren't verified. So it's like, you're not even,
Are they haters or just keyboard warriors?
Keyboard warriors, yeah.
So I like the point that you're getting at, because me, like, I don't know, I've always been taught to think different and to be very crafty, but a lot of that too is human experience. Like, we a lot of the stuff that we believe and that we hold onto, when someone says something that we don't agree with, for some reason now we take it as like it's an attack on our character or something. And we don't have the same walk in life and have had the same human experience. Because a lot of it seems to me like belief systems that I see that people have that are different than mine was simply because of the way that they encountered certain things in life that caused them to be that way. And so I prefer to surround myself with people who think completely different than me, because I realize that I'm really limited as far as the way I think. But what I want is I want to see every kind of different angles. And I find that if you engage, the more people you engage, and people are really interesting.
I don't think you're limited at all, Peter. I think diversity of your thought is strength for you. And I won't ever say diversity is our strength. I completely disagree with that. But I do agree that, shifting your perspective and empathizing with somebody based upon their background or their lived experience it gives you a different perspective and a different way to look at it. And it helps you to understand people. And if we can understand people, then we can relate to people. If we can relate to people, then we can potentially win them over to our side, or perhaps be swayed to their point of view. So I think that's important. That's important.
Yeah. I think the reason I say that too for me is because I look at it like this. When I engage people and talk to people, they're like, okay, they're like, you're intelligent. You go to college. I'm like, no, I mean, literally, I graduated high school barely. And I have when I graduated, 4th grade English comprehension. Right. All right. I'm not a rocket scientist by any means, or going to be a scientist or a doctor.
I ain't no rocket surgeon, I tell you what.
But what I am is capable. I learn things very quickly, hands-on. You read it, you see it, you do it. Monkey see, monkey do. That's how I learn.
You're very intelligent.
And I do enjoy a lot of different topics and things, because I don't think you could ever learn enough. Always learn something. But what I like about these different types of people that are they think different than me, they've grown up in a different experience, and because they see things from a different way of thinking, I like that. And it usually, because it's more data, I can then get with more data, I can pivot and go in a different direction, or I can just completely abandon something because it simply is not, it's not the most logical or rational answer. And I like fact. And that's kind of how I do it. But I am very empathetic. Now I wasn't always empathetic. I've kind of put myself in the person's shoes, because I think that makes me understand, the passion a little more. And then there's a lot of I don't know. I find it very unique. Being in an echo chamber with people regurgitating the same stuff, you learn nothing.
Yeah.
And in fact, you almost you fuel a fire of I call it stupidity, because there's no learning going on. And I mean, like, seriously, what growth are you doing? You're doing nothing.
Yeah.
And I think that too, each individual, we want to go somewhere, and we have a vision of happiness, prosperity, and this and that. We just have a different course to get there. And we don't agree necessarily maybe on how to get to the goal, but we do have the same kind of goals. And that's why you can always find the similarities. We need to be thinking this way. And then we also need to be thinking about, what is it going to take to solve this problem? Everyone has got oh, this is wrong, that's wrong. We can talk to, I mean, everybody will throw in on that. Let's dogpile on it. But this is the problem. What's the solution?
Right.
Because we can fix this.
Right.
But are we willing to? And then the other thing is look in the mirror and realize not everybody's out there to get you. You're not literally registering. We're literally that self-centered. Yeah. But we're not all out there to get you. But when you wake up and you look in the mirror, there's your enemy. He's standing right before you every day, looking at you.
People say,
overcome yourself.
People say the devil made me do it. No, that's the devil right there.
That's the real
in
you.
The mirror,
I hate to say it, but that's you. And you overcome that. And I'm gonna tell you what, dealing with people gets a lot easier. And that, for me, Shane, this is when I tell you in privately and stuff, this is kind of what you helped me to do that no one else could do for some reason. You helped me actually stand in front of a mirror and actually face the realities to, dang, I got to own that. And it wasn't easy. But it helped me heal, and it made me see things completely different. And then like a bulb went off, and it was
being accountable.
Yeah, and that's a hard one. And you need to surround yourself with people who will criticize you, but ultimately they don't do it to pick you apart. They do it to make you better, and you make them better. Yeah. Now that right there is a friend. That's a dynamic that you can grow with, and you do it because just because we're called to do it out of brotherhood.
And that's why you're my friend. I will say that, because we did go through a lot in the Gulag, and I always knew that I could come to you. Like, as much as I didn't like being in a leadership role in the DC Gulag,
the best leaders are the ones forced, Shane. We don't ask for it, but for some reason people push you to it.
But you were always somebody I could come to and say, hey, this is the situation. This is how I feel about it. What do you think am I off base here, or am I not off base here? And I could always trust you to give me sound advice and something that was probably outside the norm or outside the box. And I could always, embrace that data and digest it and just see where I came out on top of it. But so you're a single man. Well, not single. You're not married anymore.
My best friend and me did finalize our divorce. I hope nothing but the best. I'm very thankful for the time we had together. She was tremendous. We raised two wonderful children. Not everything we did was a failure. I mean, we again, our children, they're going to be great adults. They're thriving. We're closer. I wish her nothing but the best. And again, she was a solid by my side.
It's just a new chapter in your life.
It is.
What is the next chapter for Peter Seger? Like, what are you like? What's your mission right now? Are you working? What's going? Like, where are you headed? What's going on? Like, what can we expect to see from Peter? We got to wrap up. We got about 9 minutes here, but what can we expect to see from you next? And if you want to say something to the American people, I just want to give you the floor to say what you want to say.
So I think what you can expect from me right now is I'm just I'm trying to get together with individuals that's been long overdue. And I'm looking at what they're doing on the ground to help the community. We were given a very, very great miracle blessing by President Trump. Thank you so much for doing something that we didn't expect it would come so soon, but something that has helped us try to get aligned and head in the right direction, and at least pick up the pieces and trying to put our families back together and move forward with our lives. But I want to do something like that. I feel like I owe it to not only myself, but to bring light to so many people in darkness. And I want to get back to doing public service work. Okay. So I'm kind of just going and seeing individuals that we know that are going through this, looking at some of the stuff and projects that they have, and going to affiliate and try to help do that. and I haven't decided actually when I'm going to go back to work right now. It's very difficult, really, to know how that's going to be. I've always been very strong in my faith, so I lean on God. I appreciate the prayers the American people give me, and pray for my family and all of us that went through January 6th that are just trying to find ourselves again. And it is a struggle, and it's just one day at a time. I'm not trying to take anything too serious, but I will say this: there is a group of individuals that were used as political pucks by the apparatus and the politicians, and they're being held much like we were their political prisoners. Larry Hoover actually was just pardoned. Now he I wouldn't call him a political prisoner, but I think what he means to society in general was a great pardon for the President Trump, because what he was known for creating, he has an opportunity to undo it and to repurpose it. And I think that a lot of people that were on the opposite spectrum of a Republican side of the aisle are very happy for his leniency and his mercy that he gave. But I think, again, the president knows that someone like him has a great deal to offer the world, and you can't do that behind bars. And I look forward to see what Brother Larry is going to do there, because I know
Somebody
it's
said he still has state charges that he's dealing with too.
He does, but let's see how the state wants to act when you realize that he was given mercy. They need to show mercy also, or are they going to do what they would always do and undermine their own constituency? Yeah. They're really in a bad position, because this could cost them dearly. They could literally lose a great deal of voters. This would be a death blow for them. They're treading on some very dangerous ground here.
My son told me something funny the other day. He said, Dad, President Trump pardoned my dad, and he pardoned my favorite rapper, because he pardoned NBA YoungBoy as well. And I was like, I never thought about that. I said, that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
He was happy about that. I like NBA YoungBoy. He's a pretty good rapper, and he's been through a lot, but it was cool to hear my son say that.
Yeah.
For him to hear that come out of his mouth was just like, damn.
Yeah. And
that's true, man. Is that crazy? Like, I'm thinking about that. I still think about it. It like blows my mind. Like, I got pardoned. We got pardoned by the president of the United States.
Who would have thought, again, that this unicorn killing lunatic would do something so
Taco Trump?
That would benefit a constituency that's not supposedly his.
They're like, we've tried. We couldn't get in with Russia. We couldn't get in with the Ukrainian president phone call. You know what we're going to do now? We're going to call him Taco Trump. Like, he's Taco. That's really just going to burn his biscuit. And I'm like, this is like, you can see it's affecting his mental health. I'm like, is that literally call? I love tacos. I think everybody loves tacos. Yep. And so for you to call taco, like, the Taco Bell orange Dorito taco, that's what it's like. That's the President Trump's spicy Dorito taco. If that's what you want to call him, that's what he needs to be. I think I'm just like, you've devolved to name calling. You couldn't get him with the weaponized DOJ. You couldn't get him with try to kill him a couple times, like, and all the assassination attempts we don't know about. But then this is the death knell of Donald Trump. We're going to call him Taco. Like, yeah. Are you serious? Like,
yeah. Well, here's the sad part too, though. It's amusing to us, but the reality to it is this: they hate more than we love.
Yeah.
And that's the scary, dangerous part. Mm-hmm. And yet they want to make us sound and seem like we're so radical and so unstable and this and that. But the reality to it is it's not actually the truth. The truth is a majority of the men that got caught up in January 6th, if they saw something, say like George Floyd, okay, happening before us, if you don't know in your heart that we wouldn't have been in prison or gone to jail for throwing an officer off of him because it violated, again, our moral and ethical compasses, then you're sadly mistaken, because it would have happened. We don't allow injustice on our dime. You can do that behind closed doors, but don't do it in front of us. There are people in America who are scared to do the right thing and will walk away. I think those days are over. Stop. Get off your knees and fight like hell, because you're losing your country, and you're going to answer to it for the things that you knew were right that you walked away from. You're going to answer to God for it, and you better fear it. The only thing you need to fear in life, and then like this, and I'm going to go on this rant, but it has to be said. Messiah,
2.5 minutes.
Messiah gave us the blueprint how to treat each other. It's real simple.
Letters
We're
in
all
red.
flawed, but it's not ours to judge. You can accept people for their flaws. You can help them be better. Do the right thing. We know how to do the right thing. Stand up. And if it costs you everything, so be it. Let it cost it. Quit sitting down on your knees and just taking it. Those days are over. Be bold. Hold your head up high. There's more Americans that will support you than you think. And I mean, you'll find out it's contagious. When people see you doing that and you're willing to do the right thing because it's what we're required to do ultimately, they will follow you. And if a person asks you and tells you they are a leader, go the other direction. They're not leaders. Leaders literally are chosen to be leaders by the people, and they don't want it. So think about that every time you pull a lever. God bless America. Thank you, Donald Trump.
Just remember, America, like I always say, we're playing chess, not checkers. Don't forget. Thank you so much, Peter. It's been an honor to have you here in studio. It is so good to see
Thank
you, man.
Thank you.
Even
Thank
in
you
your
for having
Palestine shirt, I'll give you that.
But, free Palestine.
Tune in. Man, I look forward to you guys seeing this, but tune in. We'll see you next week. I love y'all. Thank you, Maurice, for being the producer. This has been a long show, but man,
thank you so much.
What a blessing. Yeah, follow us on Twitter at the Real J6 Shane. If you go to Instagram, it's the Real J6_US. On Facebook, Shane Jenkins. But God bless y'all. Remember, chess, not checkers.